Upon its release, The Dangerous Gift was listed as a lot of fans' least favorite book in Wings of Fire. It was critiqued as being boring, comprised of mainly filler, and not really going anywhere. However, as time has gone on, the book has been looked upon more fondly. This is in part due to the disastrous finale of Arc 3, The Flames of Hope, which was critiqued as being less than climactic and a bit confusing with the constant competition for page space between Luna and Freedom and the Stealth Team's plot. The two books were critiqued for different reasons, which were almost entirely opposite. One had too much filler and not enough action, and the other one was too fast-paced. But both of the issues stem from the same problem, the villain. In Flames of Hope, Luna and the Stealth Team are in contact with the villain and are actively fighting against them. In The Dangerous Gift, Snowfall is not actively fighting against the villain and not advancing the plot of the arc significantly enough that this book could have not been a novella. Despite that, The Dangerous Gift is considered better than Flames of Hope, and perhaps the lack of a villain is its greatest strength. Before we get started, if you are new to this channel, please think about subscribing. I regularly post both Wings of Fire and WordCats content, so you'll never be bored. And to my current subscribers, thank you so much for supporting me. I wouldn't have gotten here without y'all. Now, let's discuss The Dangerous Gift. So back to the question, what makes this book good? Well, its pacing was excellent. Tui has two narratives intertwined into one in this book, and it works out perfectly. First, there's Snowfall's development, which I will talk about later, and then there's the Pantala narrative. Now, having your protagonist conveniently get visions that tell her exactly what is happening can quickly turn into info dumping. However, Tui makes us not feel as though all the information is being pushed onto us by making the main character reject that information, making us feel like our own connection to what is happening in Pantala may be damaged, and keeping the reader invested and fighting against Snowfall in their minds. Later, when Snowfall fights to have visions of what is happening in Pantala, we fight with her and are rewarded. This is much better than having the information be given in long spoken out segments. Continuing on with info and info dumping, we also get to know a lot more about the Ice Wings too. Though we had an Ice Wing protagonist before, most of that book did not take place in the Ice Kingdom. The Dangerous Gift did not have too much set in the Ice Kingdom as well, but we did get to see a bit more and learn about the ranking system and all the behind the scenes stuff going on in the kingdom. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see much outside the palaces, where I suspect life would be much different, as Snowfall was a royal and the Winter was one as well. But I was grateful to see more of the Ice Kingdom nonetheless. I wish Tui would do the same with the Mud Kingdom though, but it is highly unlikely that will ever occur. I feel like what makes the Dangerous Gift the strongest though is Snowfall herself. The Dangerous Gift does not have an active villain that threatens the protagonist. Sure, there's the overarching villain, the Other Mind. However, it is a full continent away, and never goes after Snowfall directly, though it does chase her proxies. No one is actively threatening Snowfall's life, though there are those who undermine Snowfall. Sorry, I was lying. The book actually does have a central antagonist, though not a traditional one by any means. It's not another dragon or an outside force. It is Snowfall herself. Almost every single thread in this book, those who undermine Snowfall and not the Other Mind, they are all in her head. And I don't mean that in the Vision sort of way. I mean she is making them up, and most of her enemies are mainly her psyching herself up about something. There are the mysterious tribes of Pantalian dragons, who may or may not be trying to conquer the Ice Wings. Later, they are proven not to. There's Mink, whom Snowfall is suspicious of despite her being her younger sister. And then Crystal, Snowfall's missing sister, whom Snowfall pretends she still knows their whereabouts of in order to seem under control. And then there is Narwhal. Narwhal is an incredibly minor antagonist, and one that Snowfall thinks of as more of an annoyance, before she actually tries to overthrow Snowfall and install a toddler on the throne. She represents the worst version of Snowfall and what she could become, a selfish pretender who wants to be more important than she actually is. Snowfall isn't fighting against her mentality here, she's fighting against the literal manifestation of herself when it comes to Narwhal. All the minor antagonists represent something that Snowfall struggles with, living up to Glacier's image. Both Mink and Snowfall are dragons who could possibly replace her, which makes her insecure. Narwhal is a dragon who drives Snowfall into a worse mentality, and in the end, tries to prove Snowfall's fears right. However, that does not set back Snowfall one bit, as she is near the end of her arc. And of course, one cannot forget the big baddie herself, Snowfall. Snowfall initially is incredibly unsympathetic. She's a bit of an asshole to some poor scout just informing her on what they saw, and she challenges them and makes them go back and tells them they're not worth anything pretty much. She accused Lynx, her childhood friend, of spying on her and was ungrateful of her advice, and worst of all, she denied cuddling with Mink. However, we see glimpses of good in her. Her interactions with Mink when she brings her to the treasury proves she has some good left in her, and despite all the paranoia about her sister, she still does love her. Underneath all the negativity, there's a dragon and she's struggling, and that makes us root for her to overcome her struggles. After going to the treasury, Snowfall is cursed by rain that causes her to have visions from other dragons' perspectives. She experiences everything they feel, their pain, their anguish, their sorrow. However, she can't interfere. She can only stand back and watch. From this, she finally begins to understand that all other dragons are not out to get her, and she even begins to root for these dragons, now that she's gotten to know them better. While she previously was hesitant to give a helping hand to any tribe, even when it wouldn't harm her, and to even reach out to other dragons when she was being harmed, she now begins to ask for damaging visions that cause headaches and fainting just so she can know more to help them, and she even asks other dragons for help. When Snowfall is freed from the ring, we feel an immense sense of catharsis for how far Snowfall has come. She went from a paranoid dragon suspicious of even her toddler sister, to someone who had embraced their role in her tribe, and was more confident. That moment isn't just one where Snowfall completes her character arc. She also defeats the villain, herself, giving us another reason to be happy. Snowfall's character arc was great, but the placement of Snowfall in the broader arc was downright excellent. Every arc has its own overarching narrative that corresponds to the hero's journey. The fourth book of the arc is usually the Belly of the Beast, the Darkest Hour, whichever version you prefer. In the first arc, we the Dark Seeker, which starts off with our hero being kidnapped and away from anyone who could possibly help him. In the second, we had Talents of Power, in which Turtle is practically on his own standing up to Darkstalker, and which ends in defeat. The Dangerous Gift occurs right after the three tribes of Pantala have fled to Pyria after the Othermind began taking over not just the Hivewings, but Leafwings and Silkwings as well. This is the Darkest Hour. Our heroes have lost their pace. Snowfall herself is a representation of the Darkest Hour. She is paranoid, delusional, and always assumes the worst. However, as the book goes on, she begins to have a change in perspective and gain a brighter attitude as she begins the 5-point finale by gathering the team. Though we do not progress the plot as much as other books, as in we don't fight the Othermind head-on like the other books, we do connect with the theme of the arc. The theme of this arc is all about tyranny, power, and control. For the past 3 books, we followed those who lived under tyranny and rebelled against it. However, in this book, we explore the world through the point of view of someone who's rapidly turning into a tyrant, which adds a bit more nuance to the argument, as it exposes where tyranny comes from. Sometimes it can come from a person who was just as terrified as the people subjected to their rule currently. Snowfall's arc was amazing, and I feel like it saved the book. Though there was no villain, Snowfall effectively replaced that villain. That isn't all to say that Snowfall's perfect. I have a lot of critiques, such as how Sky acts like a preteen despite being an adult around the same age as Peril. But that can be chalked up to Tui's consistent problem with writing age groups, and him being a bit naive from never interacting with other dragons. If there was one thing I would change, I would make the Dangerous Gift a novella, as it's already decently short and can be skipped over and you wouldn't miss anything, but a brilliant character in the introduction of scavengers. Novellas also tend to be character driven, and you cannot deny that the Dangerous Gift is character driven. But still, despite all of its flaws, it's nowhere near the worst book in the series, and it is not the worst book in the main series thanks to Snowfall's excellent character arc. On the other hand, Flames of Hope, the lowest rated main series book, has none of those benefits. I'll be going over how Flames of Hope fails soon, so keep an eye open. If you like this video, feel free to subscribe. I make Wings of Fire and Warrior Cats videos pretty often, and your support would mean a lot to me. And to those who have already subscribed, thank you so much for your continued support. I wouldn't have gone here without y'all. Peace out.